so that if anybody misses, we will have it for them to watch afterwards. Hey, Misha.
Hey, hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Here's Debbie. Let's see, I'm going to turn focus on so I don't get binging and buzzing. Let's see for 1 hour. We're going to do a tile that's going to kind of blow your mind tonight, I think. I'm excited. And I actually found it. I was looking for inspiration. They have I'm part of this Zentangle Mosaic. It's an app that you can use on your phone, and people who Zentangle from all over the world can upload their art, and you can look at it and comment. And so I was looking for inspiration, and I had given everyone these phi tiles, these rectangular tiles, without really knowing what we were going to do with them. So I searched up phi tiles, and some of these beautiful tiles came up, and then it led me to another CZT, a certified Zentangle teacher, who has a YouTube channel and posted a video of this tile that we're going to do tonight. So I'm literally just teaching you a YouTube tutorial that I did myself, and then I'm bringing to you. It's very cool and it's very fun. So. And by the way, that's how most of these go. I get ideas from all over the place, and they're very rarely my own. Every now and then I'll have a tile that's mine that I made up. Often I modify, but no need to reinvent the wheel sometimes.
You're inspired by some other people.
Exactly. Inspired by. That's why I'm giving credit. I can let's see, what is her name? Her name is something in Japanese. Emiko Kaneko is her name. She's got a whole YouTube channel. This is the only one I've watched of hers, but she seems very good.
You ever watch that person named Oken?
Yes, Eni Oken. Yeah, I've met her too.
You did?
Yeah, she's great. Her work is so bold. You could recognize it anywhere. She has such a distinctive style.
And I think she invented a lot of tangles.
That's possible. And a lot of interesting techniques too. So let's, I'll give it a couple more minutes, although I do want to start relatively on time because I have a lot I want to accomplish. So we have our phi tiles. A couple of you might have a gray one. That's fine. I was practicing on a gray one just a few minutes ago. I ran out of the tan one, so, and I will order more. So we have our phi tile. You should have your black micron, your PN, or anything in 01. If you have a thicker nibbed one, you might want it because we have some coloring in to do tonight as well. If you don't, the PN is great. Of course, your Zentangle pencil. If you have a white charcoal, that will be great. If you don't, not to worry. If you have a gold jelly roll, you could play with that. This one isn't actually gold, it's copper. I just grabbed it. Some kind of a metallic would be fun. Again, not necessary. Some other options, if you have your charcoal, your colored charcoal pencil, you might want to play with one of those tonight. If you have more than one.
I'm gonna pick it up. I'll call her later.
Oops, sorry.
I don't know what this is. Yeah, that's Zentangle. That's it. You take these pencils.
Yep, you're in the right place. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you unless you need me for anything. Yeah, so you have your pencils. If you have a brown micron, you might want that too. Again, these are just suggestions. If you don't have any of these things, not to worry. Okay, so those are kind of the array of things you might want. Maybe you're going to want your sketch and wash and your watercolor pencil brush, but I didn't use it on this one, but you certainly could. And again, everything that we're going to do tonight is a suggestion. If you have other ideas, by all means, go for it. So let's get ourselves settled in. We have some newcomers, so welcome to Zentangle. I'm recording this class tonight, so if I go too fast or you miss anything or you want to try the whole tile again at some later point, you can absolutely do so. We're going to mostly stay muted, although if you have a question, feel free to unmute and ask. I'm not able to see all of you at once the way the screen is, so just shout if I'm not seeing you. Let's get comfortable and have a little moment of meditation before we dive into our tangle this evening. So go ahead and sit comfortably and close your eyes. Let's take some deep breaths together in through the nose and out through the mouth. And another in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And continue breathing comfortably, long, slow, deep breaths as you check in with your body, starting at the top of your head. Just if you're sensing any tension in any part, gently release it, relaxing your face, relaxing your shoulders down and away from your ears. If you'd like to do some shoulder rolls, go right ahead. If you want to do some neck rolls, you certainly can. A long but relaxed posture, sitting up tall. Check in with your chest, your upper back, your belly, your lower abdomen, your tush where it meets your seat, your legs, your upper thighs, your knees, your shins, your calves, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Come back, notice your hands for a moment, relax them, maybe stretch them. Get them ready for the important work of creativity. They are our tools this evening for expression, for exploration. And I invite you to set an intention for tonight, whatever it is that you would like for yourself. Calm, peace, focus, creativity. We're going to serve hefty doses of self-compassion, patience, the willingness to give it a try, leaving behind self-doubt, self-criticism, judgment, comparison, and those nasty voices that say, I'm not doing this right. Mine doesn't look like the Cantor's. I should just give up. Why am I doing this? Those thoughts creep in when we start to get a little frustrated. This is a high focus tangle tonight. Lean into it. Give it a try. And know that if it doesn't go the way that you want tonight, you can always try it again. We're here to grow and to try new things and hopefully to enjoy the process along the way. It is not about the product. It's about the state that we're able to achieve while we are working on creating a thing of beauty together, the group of us, and to see our piece as a part of the whole at the end when we hold up our tiles and create our mosaic. So with all that in mind, I'll ask you to trust me and to trust yourselves as we explore a fun and challenging tile this evening. One more deep breath in and one more out. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and we will begin. And if you are new to Zentangle, you'll notice that in your goodie bag, the only eraser that you have is on the back of your pastel chalk pencil, but we don't ever really use them. There are no erasers in Zentangle because there are no mistakes. When something happens that you didn't intend, we just make it the most beautiful that we can, whatever it is. So just going to slide my materials aside. And if you have questions about any of the tools as we go along, feel free to chime in. We are actually going to tangle on the back of this tile. This is the side that we're going to draw on tonight. Again, some of you might have a gray one and some of you a tan one, so that's okay. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we just have to complete our Fibonacci spiral here. The whole idea of the phi tile is this beautiful mathematically even shape that we get. That is the shape of a nautilus, many seashells. It's just a beautiful reoccurring shape that's all over in nature. So we're going to play with this spiral tonight. So the first thing that we're going to do is we just need to take our pencil. I've already done it because I didn't want to mess it up, and just complete this little bit of curve that's left to do to go all the way around. So you're continuing this line. You're going through that red Zentangle square like that, and then coming around this way and then looping up to make a little loop here.
Is it looping to the top and connecting?
I'm not totally sure what you mean, but I can just direct you to the picture again. You're continuing this line. Yes, it loops to the top left corner of the red square and then loops down to this bottom corner here and finishes in a little like teardrop here. Does that help?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was the teardrop I was trying to figure out.
There you go. Okay, great. Great. Okay, and once you've done that in pencil, we're going to take our black micron pen and we're just going to go over that pencil line. I need my glasses. We're going to go over that pencil line and make it official. Like that. Okay. Now, still with my black pen, I'm going to turn my tile upside down because the words are upside down. And we're gonna build off of the aquafleur technique that we were using last week. Those ribbons that wrapped around that shape that we drew, that blob. It's the same kind of idea here. We're gonna wrap all the way around our spiraling shell shape. So the first one that I'm gonna do is gonna start right from the tip of that little teardrop shape. And it's gonna come up and around that, over the top of that little red square. Again, I'm holding it, I turned it upside down. And then make another band that connects over the top. So these curving lines, imagine this is the ribbon that's wrapping around this shell shape. So it's just two lines, one curve, and then another curve. They start from the same origin point and fan out a little bit and just come down and across the top of that spiral shape. So they're all going to wrap around the top of this spiral. So now I'm going to make another one that's going to hit right around this line that we have here. So same origin spot, one line, same origin, two lines, and then you kind of connect them at the top. Okay, I'm going to turn my tile as I go so that my hand can stay comfortable. I'm going to make another one that's going to hit roughly in the middle of this arch line here. Again, don't worry about being too exact about this. I'm just giving you sort of guide points along the way. Same kind of nice, gentle curving line. It kind of loops over the top just a little bit. And then the same origin point and another one that loops around, and then just kind of connecting the top. Okay, we're going to keep going. The next one is going to curve around and hit maybe just to the right of this, this line that we have here. One like that. One like that, and then connect the top. Okay, maybe we have a couple or three or so that are going to end up in this space here. I'm looking at roughly an inch between each of these bands. But again, we don't have a ruler. We're not going to concern ourselves too much about it. One loop, two loops, connect the top. Okay, we're going to keep going. One loop. Okay, so now I'm crossing into the area where the words are, where it says phi tile. Don't worry about it. We're just going to tangle right over them. They're going to disappear. You'll never know that they were there. It's going to be very cool. We're still coming from that same part. We're just, building off of that little teardrop down at the bottom. This is that same aquafleur technique that we did last week. So they're going to get longer. Just think about a long fluid stroke. So I'm close to the bottom here. I want to do a couple more bands, but I don't necessarily want to try to get it all the way down to the edge here. You may have a different situation. So I'm going to have one come down and just sort of wrap around the bottom here, like that. So it just got shorter because I'm now wrapping it around the bottom edge instead of this curved edge on the top. And then just filling in this last little space here, just a couple more little tiny ones that wrap all the way around the bottom. And then we've got in this teardrop, make a couple little tiny echoes of the ribbon that's in there as well. I just made 4 little curved lines inside there that will turn into sort of echoes of this larger wrapping that we just did. So it already looks like a beautiful seashell. Pretty cool. All right, so we're going to go back. Actually, I'm going to keep my tile this way. And I'm going to go back to that first band that we drew. This is going to take a little while, but this is a great opportunity to kind of settle into a meditative rhythm and flow. We're going to color these bands in. with our black pen still. If you have a thicker black that you'd like to use, it'll go a little faster. I'm sticking with the PN. I like it on this paper. We're not going to color it solid. We're going to use a little bit of a feathering technique, which is very fun. So we're going to leave highlight in the middle of each one of these. So I'm going to start at the top and color in, normally. And then and you can come up from the bottom too, solid. And then I'm going to start with these little feathered lines. You kind of flick the pen and pull it away from the paper. So the top ones I flick downwards this way, and the bottom ones I'm flicking up, but they don't meet in the middle. I'm leaving a little bit of white, and then it gets a little darker and then to black. So that way it looks like this is a black ribbon with a highlight in the middle of it. I'll show you again on the next one. So I'm filling in solidly at the top and the bottom. And then I start to do this little flicking, sketching move with my pen as I get towards the center. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way around in each one of these bands, ribboned bands that we just put on. Take your time, focus on, make sure that it's a band and not the negative space. Again, if you end up doing it the other way, we'll make it work. I'm going to try to shut up for a little bit and just give you the space to focus on really settling into a groove of this coloring in and this fun sort of shading technique with the pen. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Check in with yourself every now and then. Are you hunching your shoulders? Are you clenching your teeth? I tend to purse my lips when I do Zentangle, then my lips get really chapped. Are you, do you have a death grip on that pen? If you do, or if any of those things are happening, just take a minute and reset, relax. Don't feel rushed. If in a few minutes I'm moving on and you're not done, you can always come back to this step. It won't go anywhere. So just take your time. I found myself today, I think the person whose tutorial I was watching, she her video is sped up, and it was stressing me out because she was going so fast. There was no talking, it was just you watched it. And I kept having to pause it just because I didn't like the feeling of falling behind. But you can try to let that go. We will not leave you behind. You can see already the words are sort of fading into the background. It's not a problem at all that they're there. I think it's just an ingenious idea to tangle on the back of this tile that has this pattern already there for us. Every now and then pull back from your tile and just see, how the shading effect is coming, and if you need to add more. I like that this technique is kind of adjustable. You can sort of adjust where the center line is with that feathering. Okay, and these little itty bitty ones we did in here, you can do the same thing. These little tiny ones, just like that, tucked in there. Give you a little bit of time, a couple more minutes to finish this step before we move on. Everybody doing okay so far? I forgot to mention, and probably if you're still on at this point, you figured it out. If you don't have the materials yet or at all, you could always just take any piece of paper and draw yourself some kind of a spiral. That didn't show up on the screen, but we'd figure out how to make it work if you needed to draw your own. It's always an option. It's nice that we have it here, but you can make do. If you wanted to try this pattern again on some other tile or piece of paper, you certainly don't need it pre-drawn. Doesn't have to be perfect. No such thing as perfection. And perfect is boring anyway. Okay, so we're going to start to fill the interstices, the spaces in between. And again, if you're not done coloring in your ribbons, that's okay. They'll be waiting for you at a later point when you can go back. We're going to play with flux, which we worked with last week, that little leaf pattern where you use a little tipple, those little orbs. And I'm going to do muka, which I'll show you. And you can do these in any combination that you like, or you could just stick to all one thing, or you could do sort of how I was giving you options last week, where you could do printemps in one section and flux in another. You can really do this a bunch of different ways. I want to show you muka though, in case you're not familiar. So let's say we've got, and I have my brown pen. I'm going to use my brown micron for the stuff that goes in between, but if you don't have that, black works well. I also did the tile all in black and it works fine. Okay, so I'm just going to show you, here's that. Okay, here's this other one. Okay, this is what we just colored in. Okay, so muka is a little like curled fern frond. And we're going to start each one from that same point where we started our ribbons. And it's going to come up, it curves around, and then comes back down. Let me show you that larger. It comes up like this. It curves around. You get a little bulbous sort of head, and then it comes back down. Okay, and then they can go in the other direction too. And sometimes they kind of grow one off the other. So you can curve it around this way. It has a little bulb on the end, and then it comes back down. Okay, and then sometimes they sort of nestle one right under the next. You can do it this way too. Okay, but you want to try to do it all in one fluid motion. So again, you can come like this, up and around, little cap, and back down. Going in the other direction, it can come up and around and curve back down like that. Okay, this tends to be one that people either love or hate. It happens to be one of my favorites. But if you don't like that, you have the option. So we're going to tuck flux in these little spaces that we form here. That little teardrop leaf shape kind of fits right inside here. And then you can fill in with little ones, like we were doing last week. And then with the spaces that are left over, you can tuck little orbs in, and it suddenly looks like this very intricate, like sort of William Morris type fabric pattern or something like that. Okay, so we're gonna play with this kind of a thing. And this is really when you're not going to do step by step what I do. You're going to fill each section in any way that, feels good to you using whatever tangles you want. If you want to do all tipple, you could do all tipple, just those little orbs that nestle in next to one another. You could do printemps, those spirals that fit one into the other, right? And then we've got flux, or a combination of all of them with muka, anything you want. It's all gonna look great. Okay, if you don't have a brown pen, stick with the black pen. I promise it will still work. So I'm gonna start down here in this section, and I'm gonna work my way around filling this whole thing with my patterns. Whatever I'm gonna do, muka, flux, and tipple all kind of mixed together. I will leave you to figure out what you want to do in this space. And obviously in the smaller spaces, we're gonna have fewer things. And as the spaces get larger, we'll have room for more. Turning my tile as I work. And this is when we start to, I like to listen to the tile, to listen to each little section as I'm working on it, and just sort of feel what it wants, what it needs. We don't want to work against the space and try to shoehorn something in that doesn't really work. We want to try to fill the space as gracefully as possible. And again, I found myself in watching this tutorial trying to make sure I got every muka and flux leaf the way that the teacher was doing it, and I was getting frustrated. And then finally I just said, you know what, I'm going to fill this the way my tile needs to be filled. And then it went much better. every now and then I have these moments when I'm tangling that it is as if the design is already there and I'm simply just adding the ink. And I think that's sort of like that meditative flow that we are hoping to achieve every now and then. It can't possibly happen all the time, but every once in a while it's like, oh, there's no other place that this line could go except right here. Those are very exciting and fleeting moments, but they do happen. You can see I'm turning my tile every which way so that I can stay comfortable, stay true to my drawing hand. It's also nice sometimes to not have to really think about what you need to do next. You fill one section, you move on, and you fill the next section. Rinse and repeat. Don't forget to just like take a step back every now and then, pull back from the tile, see how it's going. When we scrutinize the tiny details, we forget that this is part of a greater whole. Each line becomes less important when it's just one of many, many, many. And I'm not being bothered at all by the lettering that's there, just drawing right over it. It's interesting to think about what are, not that the letters are ugly or unwanted in any way, but there are things in our lives that we may not want to draw attention to or not don't want to focus on, and just draw something beautiful on top of it and it goes away. Do something beautiful instead. You may find it gets a little easier as you begin to have more room, a little bit more space to play. Remembering to relax your hands, relax your shoulders. Okay, just making our way section by section. Enjoying the process. Takes a while. I hope you're pulling back every now and then to see just how beautiful this sort of lacy design is that is unfolding here. And anywhere you have little extra spaces, just put a little tipple right in a little crevice, and it just adds some special little detail. Just work with whatever the shape is that you are in. Filling it in the most loving and beautiful way possible. It's a space that you created, and only you know how exactly to fill it. I also find it takes me a little while to get warmed up and find that groove. Often when I start, I'm a little stiff and the lines aren't flowing. And then as I get into it, just kind of starts to get into the groove. Okay, I've got a couple more little spaces. Okay, and these last little ones, it's just sort of an echo of patterns that we've been doing. Little, maybe one little muka, couple little leaves, little flecks. That's it. Okay. Give you a minute to finish that up. If you're done, stretch your hand. My drawing thumb, I guess, does a lot of the work, and it gets kind of sore. Put your pen down, stretch out your thumb. I think it does a lot of the, this kind of movements. It's in charge of that, and it gets mad at me when I do too much Zentangle. All right, so let's go back to our black pen for just a little bit, because we can't leave any blank space. And by the way, the person whose tutorial I did to learn this is in the same camp as I am, of like fill every single inch of tile. So we're going to do an aura inside this shape. So I'm going to aura inside this line here. Nice and close. It's a tight aura. And then I'm going to aura this shape, and I'm going to echo some of those little waves and bumps that you might have gotten while you were giving this seashell its shape. So I'm going to do that in the 3 corners that are left exposed here. Okay. And then inside these spaces now, where we just put the auras, we're going to do a little, you could call it diva dance or you could call it senna. It's kind of, they're both sort of similar. I guess it's technically diva dance. But the way we do that is this. I'm going to start with a line, just a kind of a wavy, crazy line that goes from this corner and kind of just comes down like this. Just like that. Okay, don't worry too much about it. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one on the other side of it that kind of auras it. Could be on the left or the right side. I did mine on the right. I think I would recommend the right, but okay, and then going back to the right side, I'm just going to find some little areas to add ink against that line. Just randomly along the way. So not everywhere. I like to go down in the crevices a little bit, add some weight down there, maybe a little bit up at the top. I just added some weighting on the right-hand side of that line. And then when I feel like I have enough there, I'm going to go ahead and aura that line again, but following the contours with the new little bumps and weights that we put on it. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the line that we just drew. You can follow the same path of auraing, of that weighting. You could add some extras. I would mix it up a little bit. Just make it a little bit of unpredictability. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing after you've added some ink. You're going to go ahead and aura it again. Mine touched the side here, so I just kind of ended off there and filled in that little space. Again, add some weighting wherever you see fit. Okay, and then aura that new line. Okay, until you've filled in that whole section there. Okay, then I'm going to come from this other corner here and do a similar kind of crazy line and then aura down along the one that was already there. And do the same thing, filling in. I'm going to go first to the right of the line. Got this funky little shape there, but just gonna fill that in. And then go to the other side and just fill in the rest of the shape. So you'll end up with something like that. And then we're going to do the same thing in the other two corners, of course, on a smaller scale. So we can start from this corner and go down that way. Filling in little bits, adding some weight. And then the other side. And then just the same thing, little itty bitty one over here in the corner, this little corner. It's so small, you don't really need to worry too much about it, just hinting at a similar design. Okay, and we're gonna, believe it or not, we're gonna squeeze one more little pattern around the outside. There's hardly any space, but we're gonna do it. So one more little aura all the way at the very edge of your tile, all the way around the very most outer edge. If you care about the table underneath, maybe you want to put something underneath just so you don't accidentally draw on your table. And these are printed a little off center, so you will have one side that is a little bit thicker than the other, so that's okay. Perfectly imperfect. Okay, and then start at an angle in the corner and then just evenly placed lines all the way around the perimeter of this tile. I say evenly spaced, like evenly-ish, and then I angle the corners. Angle at the corner. Angle at the corner, turning your tile. Okay, and then we're gonna color in every other of these little boxes that we just created, making a checkerboard border around the outside. It should go fairly quickly. Oh, and also one thing that I like to do so that it's not a whole blob of black down here when it comes up against where my ribbon is, I leave just a little bit of white or the tan. I leave just a little space just so that it differentiates the the black of this checkerboard that we're making from the black of the band. That's just something that I do. I don't know that you have to, it'll still read anyway, but for whatever reason, I like to do it. Just give it a tiny bit of separation so that it doesn't all blend together as one big black blob. I think the eye would still read it as separate, but it's just a me thing. And some of these are kind of long, skinny rectangles. Some of them are square-ish. Some of them are just some other kind of polygon. Doesn't matter. The PNs, these pens that we're using, or most of us probably, are great for this kind of work. They work well for coloring in large areas, but they still have a fine enough point that you can get nice detail. So I find they're very versatile. I like them. This is my third time doing this tile today. I'm kind of amazed there's any ink left in this pen, but miraculously there is. And if you end up with an uneven number of lines so that you don't have a room for like another square, you can just always add a tiny one. Sometimes I just have to add an extra one to get a little one last checkerboard in there. Okay, that's it. No more ink for right now. I'll give you a second to finish that up. Everybody doing okay? Everyone's hard at work. Okay, so let's get to a little bit of shading now. I'm gonna go back and pick up my Zentangle pencil. It's been feeling neglected this evening because only all it got to do was that few little lines right at the very beginning. So we're gonna give it something to do now, and we're going to shade. So we're gonna go all the way around the outside. You don't have to bother with the black ribbons. We just have to shade the areas with the muka and everything in it. So you don't need to shade the black. And I'm going to put a nice hardy layer of graphite here with making little circles. And I am going into the space a little bit more lightly, darkest at the outside edge. And I'm going pretty heavy. And then another layer that's a little lighter moving in, not all the way to the center. We want to remember we're going to have this highlight that runs through the middle. So you don't want to shade too far in. And I know sometimes it feels a little bit strange to like go ahead and scribble on top of all this beautiful line work that we just did, but I promise it'll be worth it. And if yours is like mine, I'm going to go along this bottom edge here too. You might have a band down here, but I'm going to put some graphite there and down on these little ones here at the bottom. And I'm also going to put some in the center here where all of the bands originate. So I'm going to darken in here too. And do the little bands in the center too. Okay, and then where's my tortillon? Then I'm going to get my little blending stump, my tortillon, which I forgot to take out earlier. Where is it? This little guy. And I'm going to softly blend, again, using the side of the tortillon, not the tip, just preserves it, helps it last a little longer. I'm not pressing too hard on the paper because the tan tile, especially even more than the gray, is very soft and too much pressure starts to pull up the fibers. So just go gently. And I'm blending towards the center of each of these bands, but I'm keeping this unshaded in the middle because we want a highlight.
Micah,
Yes.
if we don't have the white, I forgot what that's called. Can we use the water one that we have, the feathery to blend, or should we just not bother?
the feathery to blend. Can you show
The-
me? Ah, well, we're not up to the white yet. No, I don't think I would use that. I think it might get a little bit muddy. I think you can achieve the same effect. Like you just won't add the highlight, but you look, we haven't added white yet, and it already looks like it's lighter in the center, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'll get you a white charcoal. It's hard for me to know who has all of the materials. You know, some of you have been tangling with me for years. You probably have 5 charcoal pencils, you know, 5 white charcoals. And so I don't give all the materials in every kit, but I can definitely get you one. If you have a white charcoal, now would be a good time to just through the center of this nautilus thing here to add some white. If you don't have it, it's fine. It's already drawn there with how we shaded the bands. And it'll read as 3-dimensional anyway. Okay, so we got something like that. And I don't even really need to blend it. I'm just kind of using the pencil to get it where I want it. That looks pretty cool. So now, if you do have, we do have some of these colored chalk pencils. I'm going to use a little bit of I have a purple one here to shade just inside on this Senna or Diva Dance, whatever we're calling it, area over here. Ooh, I did get a little out there. I can use look, I used an eraser. Don't tell. To just put a little bit around the inside border. I'm going to do that on all of our 3 little triangular areas. So not filling all the way to the center until I'm using the eraser again. If you don't have one of these chalk pencils, you can shade this with your regular graphite pencil, just like we did the other shape. Doesn't need to be in a color, it'll just be shaded. If you want to, you can blend that. Just know that then you're going to have that color on your tortillon. So blend at your own risk. Just kind of smooth that out. And then we can also put a little bit of graphite on either side of this band here to shade these the checkerboard border that we did. I'm just putting a little bit on the very edge to give it a little bit of dimensionality. Okay, and you can blend that with your tortillon if you want, knowing that it will have a little bit of whatever color you were just using on there, but shouldn't be too bad. Okay, if you have the white charcoal, you could put a little highlight in the center of each of these little spots. Optional. And you could do a stripe right through the center of this border to also make that kind of pop. One more little thing we can do before we add our chop. If you have a gold or a silver, some kind of metallic or some other color that you think will stand out, you can just go back and put a little sparkle in that aura that we had created. It's subtle, but little sparkle never hurt. And then you can go back once that's dry, give it a second. You can go back with your black. If any of your lines got washed out or sort of overpowered by shadow, the shading that we did, you can go back in and just darken up again, reiterate. I'm just kind of going back over those lines just to define, I'm coloring in a little bit more of these bands that maybe I felt a little rushed on. Just redefining some of those lines from way back when we were first getting started. Making sure that what we really want to come out is this beautiful shell shape. It's really clear. And then find a spot where you would like to add your chop, your initials that define this tile as yours from the front. Then if you want to flip it over, I know this is actually the front, we're using the back, but we can put our names We did Aura Knot. These are the names of the tangles that we did tonight. We did Flux. We did Muka. We did some Tipple. Okay, and this is Temple Sinai, Zentangle. That is 11/8/2023. Maybe if you wanted to, write your intention on the back here or how you were feeling. I was feeling some flow of getting to do all of those repeating patterns. All right, and when you're done, we can turn it back over. I'm going to take my spotlight off. Oops. And we can create our mosaic. Let me see. All right, so if you're not in gallery view, you're going to want to get onto gallery view. And then everybody can hold up your tiles. Oh my goodness, everyone. John, look at yours. Look at all those colors. Look at John's down here. That's awesome. This was not an easy tile, everyone. They look beautiful. Hey, Jane, look at you. These are fabulous, everyone. Oh my gosh. Emily, wow, beautiful. They're all stunning. These are incredible. Wow. Audrey, nice job. These are excellent. Phyllis, hold yours up a little bit more. I can't, you're not quite, oh, there we go. Nice. Wow, wow, wow. Everyone, I'm so impressed. What did you think? You can unmute now. What are some reflections on this tile? Anybody like it, hate it, want to do it again?
I like it. It's cool it's like a chocolate box with all the little pieces fitting in.
Yeah, I like that.
I
I could
love
just
when
do Flux and Muka all day long.
Flux and Muka all day long. Yeah, who said that?
Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
All
Yeah,
day long.
I'm with you.
this was an amazing building one. I love when it like goes, all of a sudden it's simple and it gets so complex.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And you would, I mean, anybody, if you just like, even if I just took a look at this and was like, no way, I'm not going to do that. That's going to take me 5 hours. But like, you get in the groove and you just go and you put one stroke after another and you get this amazing detailed tile. So here you can see I was playing with it. This is it on gray, because I know a couple of you have gray. So I'm going to finish that and I'm going to add some different colors with it. This was the practice one that I was doing that was showing some shading with one of the charcoal pencils. So you can see, in addition to just the graphite shading, adding some other color, which could be really, really fun too. Look at that. You can, from this angle, it really
Pretty.
So just lots of different ways to play with this. You can see all the different, it looks different every time. So great. Well, everyone, I'm really impressed. Thank you for bearing with me. This was not easy, and you did beautifully.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
very
week,
much.
and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.